Hey, this is Dr. Berry. So you've been diagnosed with type 2 diabetes. Now what? Well, the bad news is you're not alone. There's an epidemic of type 2 diabetes in the United States and actually around the world. And so this is the one time though when it's probably not good to be in company. So I want to go through 10 things that you need to know as a newly diagnosed type 2 diabetic. And these things can literally save your life, save your health span, and save your sanity. So please watch this video so that you get all 10 of these things that you really need to know as a type 2 diabetic. Now, as many of you guys know, there are millions of people who have received a diagnosis of type 2 diabetes or pre-diabetes. And the problem is damage is being done every day that the blood sugar is even a little bit high. And so I need your help to help me share these 10 things with as many type 2 diabetics and pre-diabetics as we possibly can. Please consider sharing this video on your Facebook, share it on YouTube, share it on Twitter, share it on Instagram. There are so many people needlessly suffering from the complications of type 2 diabetes, and it just doesn't have to be that way. Now, let's talk about the 10 things you need to know as a newly diagnosed diabetic type 2. Number one, you've got to know, are you a type 2 really? Or are you a type 1? Or are you a late onset adult diabetic? Or do you have gestational diabetes? All these matter because the medications that the doctor will choose to treat you with differ depending on these. Whether you absolutely need insulin or not will depend on this. And the way you'll know is not if you have a high A1C. That doesn't tell you anything about whether you're a type 1, type 2, LADA, or gestational. If you're a type 1, then you don't make insulin. And so your fasting insulin and your C peptide will be essentially zero. You're a type 1, you're going to have some insulin. If you are a type 2 diabetic, you'll hear many, many times, even on the American Diabetes Association website, that you're just not making enough insulin or your insulin doesn't work right. And this is absolutely incorrect. And so, as a newly diagnosed type 2 diabetic, you need to ask for a fasting insulin and for a C peptide level. And both of these are going to be very high because your pancreas is making lots of insulin to try to deal with all the sugar that you've been eating, whether you knew you were eating it or not. Late onset is a different one, and then gestational is a different one. We'll talk about those two in other videos because they're also important. And so, number one, you've got to figure out, are you truly a type 2 diabetic or are you one of the other kinds of diabetics? It's very common that doctors don't check all the lab work needed to truly make this distinction. Number two, you have to realize this is very, very serious. Type 2 diabetes is one of the leading causes of heart disease, of early death, of premature nursing home admission. All these things go hand in hand with type 2 diabetes unless you take charge of it. And so you have to understand this is not a joke. It's not funny when you eat donuts. It's not cute when you have Lucky Charms for breakfast. None of that stuff is funny. This is deadly serious. And if you enjoy your life as it currently is, and you enjoy your spouse and your children and maybe even your grandchildren, and you'd like to one day enjoy your great grandchildren, you need to take this deadly serious because that's what it is. Next, you have to understand, you have to believe that type 2 diabetes is reversible. Okay, because otherwise, why would you go to all this trouble? So, the definition of why your doctor told you, hey, you're a type 2 diabetic is because your hemoglobin A1C, your A1C level was 6.5 or higher. That's the definition of diabetes. And so, when you are able, through your diet and your lifestyle changes, to bring your A1C below 6.5, then you are at that point a pre-diabetic. You're not type 2 diabetic anymore. You've reversed that. And when you're able through diet and lifestyle to bring your A1C back down to normal levels, you've reversed both your type 2 diabetes and your pre-diabetes. That's completely doable. I've seen hundreds of people here at the Berry Clinic do that with their diet and their lifestyle, and I've talked to thousands of people online who have done just that very thing, and you can do it as well. The next thing that you have to understand is this is all about your diet. 95% of your battle in reversing your type 2 diabetes is going to be about changes you make in your diet. It's mandatory. Unless you want to be on insulin and 7 pills and then lose a leg and then be on dialysis and then be blind, you have got to permanently change your diet away from the slow poison diet that is the standard American diet. You can't listen to any of the other experts because they're going to tell you to eat upwards of 300 grams of carbohydrate a day, which is going to keep your blood sugar sky high. You don't want to do that. And so you have to understand, you have to learn how to feed a human being. You have to know what to eat and what not to eat, or you will get sick, you will suffer, and you'll die an early, miserable death with type 2 diabetes. But all of that's preventable. The next thing you should do is demand a continuous glucose monitor from your doctor. Continuous glucose monitors, or CGMs, are going to revolutionize the way type 2 diabetics can take care of their own self. You will immediately be able to see whether the dietary advice your doctor or your dietitian gave you was good advice or bad advice by watching your CGM. It gives you minute by minute updates on your blood sugar. And so when you eat that big, delicious bowl of steaming hot steel cut oatmeal that your doctor told you should have for breakfast every day, you'll immediately see your blood sugar doing this. And then you'll never eat that oatmeal again. The same goes for bananas and grapes and many other things that diabetics are told are really good foods for diabetics. Many of the pictures on the American Diabetes Association website will make your blood sugar spike in a similar manner. And so a CGM is mandatory if you want to truly take charge of your type 2 and reverse your type 2. You've got to have one of those. Even if you have to pay for it, they are expensive, but I promise you it'll be the best investment you've ever made in your health and in your life. The next thing you need to do, at least initially, your initial diagnosis as a type 2 diabetic, is you need to refuse insulin. If your doctor tries to immediately put you on insulin, that's inappropriate. That's not the way this should be done. You may get started on a pill, maybe on an injection, but you do not need insulin when you're initially diagnosed. I don't care how high your A1C is, because you're going to immediately start making changes in your diet. If you watch my other videos on the ketogenic way of eating, you can immediately start to lower your blood sugar back to normal levels with your diet alone. Do not start on insulin initially if that's what your doctor suggests. Say, you know what, doc, I'm going to change my diet. Let me have a month to try and fix this, and then we'll talk about that insulin when I come back. And that might make your doctor more comfortable. The next thing that you need to know and understand is that you will be given bad advice, and you will be given bad advice by people who you look up to, who should know better, like perhaps your doctor, perhaps your nutritionist, definitely by the American Diabetes Association and the American Heart Association. They will give you inappropriate advice. And now that you have that CGM we talked about, you will immediately be able to ferret out bad advice versus good advice. You'll only make that mistake one time, and then you'll know better than to make it in the future. So expect bad advice. Be ready to watch your CGM and see what that dietary advice does to your blood sugar. It's as simple as that. The next thing is you can absolutely ignore the American Diabetes Association. Very often, at least once a week here at the clinic, I'll have a patient come in and say, I don't know, this keto's not working for me. My blood sugars are getting higher and higher. And after we've talked for a while, I find out they've been on the ADA website or one of their sister websites, and they've tried some of the recipes that they recommend there, and it makes their blood sugar go straight up. So for now, until the ADA changes, you can safely ignore them, and your A1C will actually benefit from that. The next thing you need to understand is that exercise will help you control your blood sugar and lower your A1C. The more muscle that you're able to put on your body, the more places your body has to put the glucose out of your bloodstream. So, but that doesn't give you liberty to eat lots of carbohydrates. It just gives you more of a buffer. And so if you've been diagnosed with type 2 diabetes, you absolutely need to be more active than you have been, whatever that means for you in your personal journey. The next thing you need to know is that you absolutely can take charge of this. And this is number 10, and this is probably the most important thing I can tell you. You are not helpless. You are not powerless. You are in danger. Yes. You're in trouble. Yes. But you can absolutely get pissed off and take charge of your diet and take charge of your lifestyle. And you can absolutely take charge of this type 2 diabetes. You can kick its butt and you can reverse it. You have to understand no one else is going to do this for you. I can make videos all day long. Your doctor can prescribe pills all day long. But if you don't make the choice, I'm gonna fix this and get pissed off and say, that's it, I'm done. I'm not going to live like this anymore. I'm not going to suffer. I'm not going to make my children suffer and have to come see me in the nursing home because I had an early stroke or an early heart attack and I have heart failure so severe now I can't live at home anymore. Please don't put your family through that. Please take charge of your diabetes. Know that you can take charge of your diabetes and reverse this before it destroys your life. Now, if you enjoyed this video, please consider clicking that subscribe button and the little bell button right beside it. That way, every time I make a new video and release it, you'll get a notification. You'll be one of the very first to know. And if my videos like this have helped your health in some small way, please consider clicking on that Patreon link right down below. It's a quick sign up and you can throw a buck or two my way so that I have enough time to keep making videos just like this one. This is Dr. Berry. I'll see you next time.